but he flared a 4-iron into the crowd on the 18th hole, made bogey, and lost by 1. In the PGA Championship, Norman floundered to a 40 on the back 9, then watched as Bob Tway holed out from a bunker for a birdie and the win. The cruel blows continued. Larry Mize miraculously holed out a pitch to beat him in a playoff at the 1987 Masters. Norman lipped out a 4-foot putt to lose the 1993 PGA. In 1995, he shot 73 in the final round of the U.S. Open, when an even par 70 would have won. How could one golfer be so dominant in some spots and so vulnerable in others? The two forces would appear to be diametrically opposed, but there's actually a strong and logical connection. Consider the heights Norman reached with his best golf. He set a record at the Players' Championship when he won at 24 under par. In the final round of the 1993 British Open, he shot 64 in blustery conditions. His former instructor, Butch Harmon, has called that day at Royal St. George's the best round of golf I've ever seen in my life. And this was said after Harmon coached Tiger Woods to 8 majors from 1997 to 2002. In reaching such a rarefied level, however, you risk believing you belong nowhere else. Both of Norman's children describe their father's unwavering confidence, even against the backdrop of disappointment. Stubbornness runs in our family, his daughter Morgan Lay says. He's a type A person who believes he's going to succeed more than anyone else. Says Peter Costas, a golf analyst for CBS and a leading instructor. Sometimes that stubbornness gives you the commitment to hit a brilliant shot under pressure. Sometimes it makes you go for a shot you shouldn't try. I saw Greg as having that. At the far end of confidence is hubris, and as the game's premier player, Norman was arguably ill-prepared for those occasions when things went awry. In recent years, Norman has acknowledged that he could have benefited from working with a sports psychologist to better deal with those stressful Sundays. During my career, when I first started playing the game, sports psychologists weren't part of your team, he says. But if I had the ability to trust someone to give me advice or help me with my attitude, damn right I would have been a better player. What Norman needed help with most was his contingency management, knowing how to react when your first plan falls apart. The sports psychologist Jonathan Fader's analogy was knowing to take a different route to work when your usual route is blocked. In Norman's case, he needed to know how to respond when his golf swing began to falter, or when a tournament he had control of began to slip from his grasp. The idea is you've got to have a plan for when things go wrong and you're faced with challenges, Fader says. The way I work with people is I say we're preparing for excellence, but you're always going to have unwanted outcomes, so if you're prepared for them, you're going to arrive at the quickest path to recovery. By the time Norman entered his 40s, it was apparent contingency management was a skill he needed. Although the 1996 Masters was his most dramatic collapse, the one that put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated, crouched over in anguish, he has always maintained that the loss to Mize in 1987 was more devastating. It's the major that had him weeping on the beach outside his Florida home until 3 the next morning, the one he has said took 4 full years to get over. The main problem, he said, is that he failed to see it coming. The climactic sequence came on the second playoff hole, the 11th, with Norman's ball safely on the green and Mize off near the 12th tee after missing his approach right. 140 feet away, Mize thought he had to get down in 2 to have any chance of extending the playoff. Norman was pretty sure he wouldn't. Instead, Mize holed the chip to win outright. That's the one that gutted me most because I thought I was in total control, Norman says some 3 decades later. And that's something I talk to my kids about. I explain to them, if you think you're in total control, expect the unexpected. When everything looks great, look for trouble. However jaded Norman could have been by his streak of bad luck, he persisted in thinking he was due one climactic breakthrough.